Hey guys, welcome. I know I was away. Let's get the obvious out of the way. Today we have a different type of tutorial. Now, usually I do photography and Photoshop. I said I was working on After Effects for some time on a project, so I said why not use After Effect as give you an After Effect tutorial. So today we are going to start with a very famous point of After Effect, which is what is a null object. If you want more After Effect tutorial or you would want an After Effect basic, please let me know down in the comments. I would love to know from you. With that out of the way, let's get started. Now, a null object, as the name suggests, is an object that is not visible. So it will not show up on the final render or on the composition except for an outline, that too in the composition when you're working with it. So why use it? Well, you primarily use a null object to control the layers that are directly underneath it. That can be one or multiple. You just need to pair that layer with the null object. Pair that layer. That's right. Anyway, so with the null object, you can change the properties of the null object, aka increase or decrease the size or position, and you can increase and decrease the size of the layer that you have parented to. Now, the wiser among you might ask, why use a null object when you can already do that from the layers properties? And you would be correct in the sense that you don't really need a null object to change the properties of layer. True. But what if you want to have different animations applied to a layer? Maybe you have a group of layer and you want one animation on the group and you want individual animation on each layer, which is why you use a null object. I'll show you to the computer. Okay, this is going good. Now, if you have any problem seeing me, it's because I have changed the lighting a little bit. I'm using my home lights, so bear with me for a moment, please. Thank you. So, to the computer. Now, what you will see is I have three squares, red squares. Yes, not the one in Moscow. But anyway, I have three red squares and I've just duplicated them because I'm lazy like that. So what I will do is I will try and show you why we use a null object. So let's say I select all the layer, press S on the keyboard for scale, that's a shortcut, and let's say you scale it up. What you will see is all the squares are scaling up or down from their own anchor point in the middle. Now what if you don't want that? What if you want all of these squares to scale from a single anchor point that can be wherever you want? So this is where you do, okay, let's just hide these. Let's go to layer and new and null object. Now you will see by default the position of the null object. Okay, if you can't see, I will just increase the thing. This dotted square right here is a null object. Now before you parent it to any other layer underneath it, you can always move it, sorry, I'm scaling it, excuse me. You can always move it left, right, or up and down wherever you want before you parent it. After you parent it, any changes that you put on the null object will always affect the layer under which you have parented it to. So first let's say I want it here, or you can change it to your desired location. Select all of them, pick one of the pick whip tools, which is this circle right here, this twisted thing, and you parent it to the null. Okay. Now whatever I do on the composition will be reflected on them, but you will see them do it from one particular point. Let's say I do the scale animation again. What you will see is all of the squares are now scaling from the middle, which is the center of the composition, and not their own anchor point. The anchor point is the one that is with the null object, as you can see right here. Now this can also be used in various other ways, which is, let's bring them back. Now let's say I want to animate them and I want to do different animation on different things. Let's say I want to scale this one from this, let's say move it here, and I want to scale it here. And I also want this one to rotate, let's say green frame for rotation, and by the time this thing comes here, which is its full till here, it can rotate, let's say once. Okay, so I want this, and for the third one, let's say I want its position to change. So I want it moving up to here, and okay, no, sorry, I have to move the scale. So I want the position to move here. Now at the same time, what I want to do is I want to scale them from this position. Again, let's open this thing, and within the same time frame almost, I want them to scale, the entire thing to scale like this. And what you will see is, if I play the composition, you see this thing moves, this thing scales up, and this thing spins. They all happen while they're all scaling up. They're not doing it without it. They're all scaling up, which is the overall effect applied by the null object. Now, as you know, you will always ask that why not just pre-compose, because breaking a pre-composition is really tough, and I think it's damn near impossible. So yeah, don't go there. This is a far better way. Another thing about null object, except for the overall animations and the individual animation that you can do underneath it, is the camera. I'll show you. So okay, let's stop this madness. Let's bring it to here, and let's say I want a camera. Let's hide all of these things. What's wrong with my mouse? My mouse is okay. Now let's go back. Let's do layer, new, and let's do camera. And it's a 2-node camera. Hit OK, and I have the top view and the main view. And these should all be 3D layers. Otherwise, none of this will be affected by the camera. Remember this. Now let's say I want to animate it. Let's say I go here, and let's check. I think it's a yes. Let's do the Y rotation. Yeah. So let's say I want the Y rotation here, and I want it here. And let's say I pan it to here. Okay, let's say I pan it here. Okay, cool. Now the thing you will notice is, if you go here, is that the camera is moving on itself. So the camera is behaving as if it's on a tripod. The position of the camera is fixed and is rotating from that area. You will notice it. So that is the only way you can use the camera or pan the camera if you don't have a null object. So it will go something like this. Instead, what if I want to keep the plane of focus the same? So I want the camera to lock on a subject and I want it to record it from 360. That can only happen with the null object, because you remember, a null object can make the layer center around it. So if the null object is here, the scaling happens from that point The null object is here, the rotation happens from that point. This is why the camera will also move from that point. So this is where my null object will be placed. So layer, new, and null object. As you can see, the null object is here. I will take the pick tool, parent the camera to the null, go to the null, and we are going to go here. Okay, this needs to be a 3D object. I'm so sorry. See, I told you it needs to be a 3D object, then I forgot about it. Anyway, this needs to be 3D. Now it will work. Transform, and let's take the Y rotation. Oh, sorry. I need to parent it. It is a lot of steps. Yes. Now it's going to work. As you can see, now the focal point is fixed and the camera is rotating on the focal point. So now let's delete the keyframes for the camera and let's do this. Okay, let's do 0 and just bring it, and let's put a keyframe, and let's move it up here, and let's move it like this and see what happens. So this is another example. So a null object can help you put an animation or a property on layers, on a multiple layers as a whole without having to pre-compose them, and it can also help you anchor cameras around a focal point from where you can move it, because otherwise the camera will always move as if it's on a tripod. So you don't want that. You don't want that most of the time. You want your camera to lock on your focal point and move from there. That is what you want most of the time. If you don't want that, if you want the camera to pan as if it is on a tripod, then you just don't use a null object. But these are the functions of a null object, and there can be multiple more, and it is only limited by your imagination. So go out there and try, and remember, as I have shown in this tutorial, both the null object and the camera and the layers underneath it needs to be 3D if the camera is to work. I am telling you this because, as you see, I forget this all the time. It's a matter of, having a goldfish memory. Anyway, see you in the next one. Thank you.